Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me today in this live webinar on understanding natural treatments for various thyroid disorders. According to Ayurveda and using mostly Ayurvedic herbs, of course, thyroid conditions are covered in ancient Ayurvedic text called Jatru Granthi, and Jatru means collarbone, and Granthi means gland. So it's a known condition. Now, of course, nowadays we have testing that can be done to help identify these conditions of hyperthyroid, hypothyroid, and Hashimoto's. So let's first talk about, understanding the causes. We know when we go to the symptoms, particularly the difference between hypo and hyperthyroid. Before we get going here, and of course, when you're tested from the doctors, there are signs of seeing the conditions, identifying this is the low T4 numbers and T3 numbers, hormones made by the thyroid gland. And of course, there's the TSH, the thyroid stimulating hormone coming from the pituitary gland. But it's quite rare that this is the cause, the pituitary gland. It's more common in Hashimoto's. But when your numbers, T3, T4 numbers, are noticeably low and you have the symptoms, then this is how you're diagnosed as having hypothyroid. What we're going to talk about is the causes, the underlying causes. And in a hyperthyroid, of course, we have excess production of these same hormones, creating greater metabolism and different symptoms. And Hashimoto's, of course, is an autoimmune condition where the immune system is attacking and thus destroying the thyroid gland. But let's talk about the causes, because for natural treatment, you have to know what's causing it. And not just, medication usually is in the form of, for hypothyroid in particular, is, thyroid hormone replacement therapy. So they're just replacing the hormones which your thyroid gland is supposed to be producing. So then, of course, this takes the dependence off the thyroid, but unfortunately it creates the dependence on the medication. As all hormone replacement treatments do, they create dependence. So this is not practiced in Ayurveda. They treat the thyroid gland and revive it. But you have to understand what the cause is, and it's the cause is with digestion, low Agni, low digestive fire. This is due to accumulation of ama, or toxins, or metabolic toxins created in the system by the individual. This doesn't necessarily mean environmental toxins from outside that's becoming toxic for the body, but these are toxins created due to your own poor digestion. So we could call weak digestion. So what are signs of weak digestion? We're talking about hypothyroidism causes right now. Is low appetite, not hungry. So not only the person has symptoms of hypothyroid, like being cold, lethargic, slow, puffy face, losing the hair around the eyebrows, these typical weight gain, but they have low appetite. They're not hungry. And if you look at their tongue, you can see their tongue is covered in a film, a white film, and this shows the toxins, or the accumulation of toxins being created on a daily basis due to their poor digestion, low Agni. So when you have poor digestion, you're not metabolizing and digesting and absorbing the foods properly. So you have, you have malabsorption, which also contributes to weight gain. You're not breaking down the foods properly. The liver itself, what's called Batu Agni, it has a type of digestive fire as well to break down the carbohydrates, the fat through the bile and the fatty acids, and even the minerals, all the elements of our food, water, fat, and protein, all are being managed by the liver according to Ayurveda, and it has its own digestive fire. So when the we call Jatra Agni, the main digestive fire of the body, is low and it's not digesting the food properly and creating mucus, congestion, toxins that eventually reach at a cellular level and get in the system, and they dampen the fire, the liver digestive aspect, Batu Agni. This is the digestive fire of the liver. Then the liver isn't doing its job and further breaking down the fat into fatty acids and breaking down the carbohydrates, etc. So this is creating a weight gain, slow metabolism as liver function drops, metabolism drops, and then these toxins then spread, from the digestive system into the blood. They're unmanageable by the liver because the liver is also becoming congested, toxic, with a low digestive fire. And this is all resulting from poor digestion, which is coming from poor eating habits, eating too late at night, eating too much heavy foods, too much congestive foods, too much animal protein. We're talking about hypothyroid right now. And eating when not hungry, snacking all day, grazing, all of these things that are dampening your appetite. You could even be not eating much food, but when you have this poor digestive fire, Manda Agni as it's called in Ayurveda, then it creates weight gain and toxins in the system. So, this is the early stages of thyroid, hypothyroid condition. You'll still see the lethargy, the weight gain, the slowing down of the metabolism, the poor digestion, the heavy feelings after meals, the inability to eat heavy foods. These are precursors to it because they're creating the cause, and then these toxins circulate through the blood, and the thyroid gland is very viscous, and it has a lot of blood vessels going into it, so it can put the hormone into the blood vessels. So when the toxins are in these blood vessels, and we also in Ayurveda, we also consider not just heavy metals toxins, but these metabolic toxins made by poor digestion, or even cholesterol, high cholesterol numbers are considered a type of toxin too. So this is undigested protein circulating in the blood, congesting the blood, affecting the circulation, and then they block the thyroid gland. Because it's got a lot of veins going into it and very fine, so they can absorb the hormones, and then they become congestion. So you could say that these toxins are then are blocking the ability of the thyroid gland of emitting the hormones into the bloodstream. And then the T4 and T3 numbers go down. The TSH, usually is maintained because this is coming from the pituitary gland. So then, of course, we have the symptoms. Now, when it's the opposite, when we have hyperthyroid condition, the causes are actually due to we call it Trikshna Agni in most cases. This means a strong appetite. This is a person who's very hungry, maybe even can get acid reflux, heartburn, acidity early in life. They're very hungry, they get hangry easy, metabolism's very high, and when the appetite's too strong, in the case of Trikshna Agni, you actually you're eating a lot, metabolism's high, but you're not gaining weight. This is what people don't understand about weight gain. When the appetite is low and you're not hungry, you're not eating till 4 o'clock, that's the cause of your weight gain. So the opposite is true here for when metabolism is too high, too stimulated. And remember, in Ayurveda, we have a certain Prakriti, Vikriti body types that you may already have a tendency for this. So if you're familiar with Ayurveda, the Kapha type of Prakriti is heavy, slow, dense, and easy to have dull, or Manda Agni, weak digestion. So they're more susceptible to hypothyroid. And the person who's thin, particularly Pitta Prakriti, who's got a warm body temperature, strong digestion, strong metabolism, or Pitta Vata, where there's also a lot of nervous energy. They're the ones who are most susceptible to hyperthyroid. We're going to cover Hashimoto's as a side note once we get through understanding these two because of the similarity. So back to causes of hyperthyroidism is this we call in Ayurveda Trikshna Agni, which is means sharp or strong digestion. This is a very hungry person eating a lot, not putting on weight because the appetite is so strong, metabolism so high, they're not able to store the fat and store the nutritions. They're actually burning it up before. So the whole metabolism is increased. Heart rate, of course, is even increasing before the T3 and T4 levels become overactive, which even heart rate can go up even higher after T3 and T4 levels. The thyroid hormones are coming out in excess. But even prior to that, you'll already see this type of person have heart palpitations, racing heart. You'll feel their pulse. You'll notice their hearts, can easily go up close to 100, 80, 90. Well, you find the person who has hypothyroid, they're going to have a very low pulse. But even prior to that, they may have only had a pulse of 60, 65, even before they were diagnosed with hypothyroid. So you can already see the tendencies in people when they're young that they could have this predisposition for one of these two conditions by looking at their prakriti or their body type, their digestion. So this strong digestive fire needs to be managed. And of course, the other cause we can't ignore is, the low iodine levels when because we use, salt where there was iodine was removed, and then iodine is used by the thyroid gland to make its hormones. So if iodine levels are low, then this can hamper the production of these hormones. So and then it becomes like a little goiter, when the thyroid gland isn't able to get enough iodine, it becomes larger to try to be able to extract it from the bloodstream. So then you get this goiter, this little bit, and this is most typical in hyperthyroid cases when the thyroid gland is not getting enough nutrients because of the strong digestion is actually destroying a lot of the nutrients and using them up before they're able to get to the thyroid gland, combined with low iodine levels. So then the thyroid gland expands and becomes hyperactive in its efforts to keep the thyroid functioning. And this, of course, can also, when you have goiter, then of course it can also be caused by Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune condition of the thyroid gland we're going to cover. And of course, this goiter can be toxic, and it could not be toxic. So it's very important to understand that metabolism is what you're observing when you're understanding these two conditions, overactive and underactive thyroid production by the thyroid gland. So we're going to go over the different symptoms so you can be very clear there. With hyperthyroid, you can get a goiter. Usually with hypo, we don't, but we can often feel it. We can feel it becomes hard. And then with hyperthyroid, we have increased digestion and increased metabolic rate. Well, in hypo, we have decreased weak digestion, not hungry, skipping meals, going all day without eating, and decreased metabolic rate. And hyper, we get the eyeballs protruding. I don't know if I can protrude my eyeballs there. And then, of course, with hyper, the blood pressure can come up. With hypo, the blood pressure comes down. With hyper, blood sugar can come up, and hypo, blood sugar can come down. So you see a lot of correlation between hypothyroid, diabetes, and obesity. And with hyperthyroid, we can also see overgrowth of bones and bone spurs. Cholesterol tends to be low. Well, with hypothyroid, cholesterol tends to be high because, like I said, the liver itself isn't able to create enough bile and break down the fat and fatty acids, and this creates excess undigested lipids in the bloodstream, cholesterol basically. The pitta and the vata type of person, for those familiar with Ayurveda, are more susceptible to hyperthyroid, while the kapha person is more susceptible to the hypo. And of course, with hyperthyroid, just seems signs of anxiety, nervousness. Well, the hypothyroid is lethargic, unmotivated, and even can be depressed. Other symptoms, would include for hypothyroid, you can lose your hair around your eyebrows, so the eyebrow hair can be gone. With hyperthyroid, you could just thin and lose more of your hair. And the hyperthyroid person tends to be sweating a lot. They can get hot at night. They get susceptible to heat, so they're anxious, hot, heart's racing. Heartbeat can go up to 140. With a hyperthyroid and hypothyroid, you're going to have 60 or even below, down to 50 or even lower. Slow heartbeat. These are really key indicators. You don't have to have all these indicators. You have to get a sense of it. And with hypothyroid, there tends to be blockage, congestion, poor circulation in the lymph, constipation, forgetfulness, depression, stiffy, puffy face, swelling. There's a certain blockage taking place because not just the thyroid gland is getting blocked by this years of poor digestion, poor eating habits, heavy foods, but the whole system is starting to congest and block down. So often the same person who has, hypothyroid tends to be constipated as well because the system is blocked. Poor circulation as well. The person with hyperthyroid, they can have multiple bowel movements, even have loose stools, get hot really easy, have tremors, shaking. So these are the main differences that we see. And the person, now, just because you have many of these symptoms doesn't mean that your thyroid is not functioning properly. But if you've been to the doctors and you have high or low T3 and T4 numbers, then this answers your question right there. So I think we covered a lot of those symptoms there of the two. Let us talk a little bit about, and so they're quite easy to identify. And if we want to talk, let's talk a little bit about the Hashimoto's and how it's different. See, well, Hashimoto's, we have an immune system issue. We have another factor about related to the condition. Now, we have the immune system is overreacting. And, and conditions usually just aren't in one spot. Like I said, with hypothyroid, it's just not the thyroid gland that's blocked and congested, but the person's circulation, their bowel movements, their digestion, even their thinking tends to be dull. The whole system is being congested, blocked, metabolism's dropping, energy's dropping, movements dropping, and hyper is the opposite. But with Hashimoto's, the cause is completely different, even though they're often misdiagnosed. It's the immune system is overreacting and is destroying the thyroid gland. Often it starts off as hyperthyroid because the thyroid gland is trying to make up for it. And then later on, it evolves into hypothyroid as the thyroid gland is damaged. But there's usually systemic symptoms in the body. There could be a chronic allergies. There could be skin rash. There could be inflammation in the bones. There could be other autoimmune conditions that are similar, like fibromyalgia, inflammation of the connective tissue, rheumatoid arthritis, autoimmune condition of the joints. But ultimately, the thyroid gland is damaged by this overactive immune system. So the immune system has to be managed. It's called immune modulating type of herbs that are modulating and managing the immune system and toning it down so it's not overreacting and destroying its own tissue. So, in all of these cases, we don't just treat the thyroid gland, we treat the whole person. If the metabolism is low, digestion is low, and hypothyroid, we have to treat the digestion, we have to treat the bowel movements, we have to treat the liver, we have to treat the thyroid gland. We have to unclear the whole system and the whole body for the person to recover. You can't treat any disease really in isolation. This is a very important point, and very important with any type of endocrine system. It's the only issue that may be of concern to you is your thyroid gland, but in fact there's many causes that should be removed before you resort to a medical condition, medical treatment. And you should try to treat the whole person. It's not just treating the symptoms. Say we have hyperthyroid person, you have the heart racing, we have to calm the heart down. There's anxiety, we have to provide nervines to support the nervous system. There could be loose stools and diarrhea, so we need to slow that down. So you really need to treat all the conditions simultaneously as treating the thyroid for all of it. And just like for this Hashimoto's, it's an autoimmune condition. You just can't say, okay, here's the herb formula for your autoimmune, your Hashimoto's. You're managing, modulating the immune system in the whole body, so that person's their other autoimmune conditions and inflammation, pain will also drop. It is all taken care of at the same time, because you can't just treat the thyroid. You're treating the whole person, and there's some herbs and treatments that focus directly on the thyroid. So it's very, very important, if you want to self-treat, or particularly if you're a practitioner, to understand the cause of these conditions, because only then are you able to treat them. You can't just take these herbs or herbal formulas blindly, and you have to treat the person holistically, not just the thyroid. And we're going to see that we're making formulas here for all three of these conditions, and they have various herbs in them that have various roles and tasks, and only some of them are for the thyroid, while others are, we could say, for the symptoms, but the management of the whole condition and its effect on the individual is what we're trying to achieve here. And these treatments, they can take a while, at least 90 days. Hypothyroid takes a little longer because it's got your clearing out and improving the function of the thyroid. Hyperthyroid can be managed quite quickly, but still takes time to resolve, so there's no dependence on the herbs. The Hashimoto's is more tricky and takes more time. The immune system can be managed, but then it can come back up quite easily, can be triggered quite quickly. So it can be more tricky to manage. I have many clients who are having to take the herbs for up to a year or 2 years even. And it depends. If the person has just been recently diagnosed and has never been on any thyroid replacement formula or a medication, then it's much easier to treat. Once a person has been on, for hypothyroid, on thyroid medication or hormone replacement, more than even a few years, but definitely more than 10 years, then more than likely the thyroid gland is no longer functioning and making its own hormones. And these cases, then I refuse to accept, or at least acknowledge I can only manage maybe some of the symptoms, helping with the weight gain, the metabolism, but they will more than likely remain dependent on their medication because the thyroid gland stops working. Now, younger people can recover faster. I've had one young woman in her 20s. She was put on thyroid medication in her teens, and she really wanted off it. And I think she took the herbs for over a year, and she did slowly reduce her medication down with the guidance of her doctor, who saw her numbers improving. and she did succeed after taking thyroid medication for 9 years. But this is the longest I've seen. Mostly I'm not, so willing to take a client if they've been on thyroid medication, hypothyroid medication, for more than a couple years and over 5 years, unless they want to try. Younger a person is, the faster they recover from almost all conditions. So that's also a factor. And particularly this is true for hypothyroid. Once you've been on the medication too long, then treatment, from what I've seen, it doesn't become possible. I mean, it could be if the people took the herbs for longer periods of time, but like I said, I avoid those because I don't want to have expectations of success when the chance is very low, unless the person's very clear about it. So let's look at some of the typical herbs that we give here for, let's start with hypothyroid. And we, of course, kelp. Kelp's always a good start. Getting some kelp in there. And here we have kelp right here, organic kelp. So you can take little kelp capsules. We use it in other forms, like we'll give a person this formula here, Kapha superfood, and this would be for an overweight person, and it has kelp in it, along with spirulina, alfalfa, punarava, beetroot, ginger, black pepper, ginger, cayenne, kelp. And so this is a nutritional supplement, but it's using kelp as it's in there as well to get the iodine in there. And sometimes we'll take that formula, it's really a nutritional formula, and we'll add a little extra kelp for the person, or a lot of the clients are already taking kelp capsules. So the main herbs that we use in Ayurveda for reducing the thyroid are Kanchnar Gugulu. This is a formula. I don't know, there's about 18 herbs in there. And Kanchnar Gugulu is a black resin, and it's used for reducing things, clearing things, deep detox, helping with joint pain, stiffness, muscle pain. But here, Kanchnar is another herb, and there's other supporting herbs that go with it. And Kanchnar Gugulu is used for tumors, cysts, hypothyroid, and blockages in the body. But it's reducing, so it's helping in weight loss to some degree, but it's unblocking things and reducing. It's a very powerful formula, and very traditional. So if you see an Ayurvedic doctor, they'll give you Kanchnar Gugulu even in a formula or in little capsules. And we also use Kupti. Kupti is a very bitter herb. It's become harder and harder to get and more expensive, but it is very effective. And Kupti is a very bitter herb that stimulates liver metabolism and cleans the liver. So that's very important, and it helps get rid of excess fat. And then we give a digestive aid, because the cause is digestion. So they have to have a digestive aid. We would use this one for hypothyroid, kapha post-digest. And you can see there, chikrat mul is the first ingredient. Trikatu is made of black pepper, long pepper, and ginger. And gumar is for blood sugar. But the key herb here is chikrat. Chikrat mul. Mul means root. And chikrat is a premier herb to kindle digestive fire and get the even datsu agni, the digestive fire of the tissue going, and improve the digestion. So it's going right at the root cause. So that's why this formula is very important in the treatment. And then another formula here, I just happen to have an Indian bottle here, Chandra Prabha. Chandra Prabha is also provided in many cases, Ayurvedic medicine. It's also a formula, I think it's about 21 herbs in it. And Chandraprabha has Shilajit in it, if you've heard of Shilajit. It's a penetrating, clearing mineral that's not even an herb, but a mineral coming from the mountains. And it's mixed with some other herbs, including a little guggulu. So it's very good for clearing, breaking up kidney stones, breaking up blockages, opening channels. So this is helping to open up the thyroid. So here we have our main hypothyroid formula. You can see right there. See, it helps with lymphatic congestions, tumors, cysts, and thyroid. So, you know, there's Kanchnar Guggulu, 12 herbs, ashwagandha, which we're going to talk about, and there's Amlaki, Haritaki, Bibataki, which is a kind of, that's Triphala, so it's very detoxing. There's Chandraprava, 26 herbs, and Mandupurni, which is for circulation. And then there's a little extra Guggulu in there because Guggulu is so important for this condition. So you can see this is, you know, this is really a very strong formula, breaking up congestion, reducing cysts down, reducing lymphatic congestion, opening up the thyroid gland, cleansing it right out. And more than likely, we'd have to give the person something for constipation as well. And we may even give them a liver tea. So the whole protocol would probably include, you know, the kapha digestive after meals, probably mixed with some of the thyroid herb, which has the chandraprava and the kukti in it. And then at night, colon herb, you know, Triphala, Senna, Buma Malaki, you know, to get the bowels moving and get the system unclogged and get it moving. So that would be the overall treatment. And then, of course, the diet. You can't forget the diet. I mean, you have to still have a kapha pacifying diet because hypothyroidism is a kapha condition, a congestive blocking condition. So you would want to reduce down all animal protein, meat, red meat for sure. You could go do some maybe white chicken, you know, and maybe a little light seafood like shrimp. But basically, you're better off to do all beans, legumes, lentils, and light vegetables, not sweet vegetables like sweet potato, carrots, and beets, but light vegetables like cruciferous family, cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, leafy greens, all leafy greens, and beans, and maybe only 2 meals a day. So you'd want to, and a lot of liquid. Maybe would also want to supplement with a liver tea, particularly if they were having trouble digesting fat, had high cholesterol, fatty liver. Then we would throw in liver tea, cholesterol formula as well. We could just give them a liver tea and have them drink it all day. And of course, if they were snacking and eating at night, we may have to throw in a weight control tea to help them to reduce the snacking. So you couldn't do this treatment without, you know, somebody following the proper diet, you know, because that's the other cause in the first place is poor digestion, poor incorrect diet. Not wrong diet, just incorrect for that particular person. You know, a lot of foods can lower your metabolism, eating heavy foods, you know, eating late at night, meat, pasta, animal protein, nuts, snacking on nuts. All these would be removed. You'd have to eat much lighter and get circulation going. No cold foods. Cold food also is blocking the thyroid. It's another cause. Cold drinks, ice water. Overweight people who have ice water then tend to get hypothyroid as it blocks the thyroid gland as cold does. It restricts circulation, you know, and then this person could have varicose veins, fatty liver, cholesterol, lymphatic blockage, constipation, dull mind, blocked thyroid gland. You know, this is all coming together in one big package. And the thyroid gland was probably the last of the numbers to show up. They'll probably already was poor digestion, weight gain, slow metabolism, fatty liver, high cholesterol, and even constipation probably preceded the low T3 and T4 numbers. So you can see it coming if you know what you're looking for and have a lot of experience with these conditions, which I do. And I do warn people that they're a prime candidate for hypothyroid or hyperthyroid based on my experience of looking at these symptoms. So now let's move on to hyperthyroid. So hyperthyroid, completely the opposite in many ways. We're trying to slow the system down. And this person tends to be overactive, hyperactive, anxious, nervous. They probably were already like that to some degree prior to being diagnosed with hyperthyroid. They probably already had this tendency and probably already had, like I said, a faster heart rate. Maybe it was at 80, 90, 100, and now it's 140 once those thyroid hormones are pumping out. And they probably never really gained weight easy, and now they're like losing weight. Usually the signs and symptoms are there way in advance in this condition. This condition does not happen quickly. It's happening slowly over time. And again, just like hypothyroid is due to too much heavy blocking foods, the hyperthyroid is due to too much stimulation, and things like coffee are going to increase it. Skipping meals, fasting, hot foods, chili pepper, cayenne pepper can overstimulate. And the diet has to be, and too much light eating, just having salads or smoothies and not having enough fat and not enough protein in the diet. This can make the body panicking, stressing, not getting sufficient nutrients. Digestion is overstimulated. There's often stress involved as well. And often the person is cold initially, but then once the thyroid hormones increase, they start to get these like hot flashes at night. So the goal is to, support the nervous system. In a sense, we want to reduce the blood pressure. So there's some cardiovascular herbs in there. There's some anti-inflammatory herbs. There's some herbs just to prevent tremors and shaking, and herbs to lower the heart rate, cooling herbs to lower the heat, and to just tone the whole system down. And this person needs to change their life as well, just like the person with hypothyroid needs to walk more and not be so lead such a sedative life. The person with hyperthyroid needs to settle down and not be working so hard, not be pushing so hard, not be running so hard, but to be walking, doing more yoga, not missing meals, and having very regular eating, plenty of sleep, not missing sleep, and then take calming herbs. The main herb we use here is ashwagandha. If you've heard of ashwagandha, I had a friend collect this for me in India. So this is very high quality ashwagandha. It was collected in my behalf from the jungles of Tamil Nadu. And ashwagandha, maintains the, it's an adaptogen. So it's helping manage stress, because anxiety and stress can lead to this condition. And that's what ashwagandha does. It's building, strengthening, maintaining muscle tone, supporting the nervous system, and very effective. And then we use dasha mula. Dasha means 10, mula means roots, 10 roots. So we have a tea called grounding tea, which we often use because this person, often has, nervous system and inflammation. There's the list of the 10 roots in there. We call it grounding tea, but the Indian name is dasha mula. And this helps with the heart palpitations, tremors, muscle fatigue. It's anti-inflammatory. And then there's Arjuna, which I don't see here, but here's Arjuna. Arjuna is helping with circulation, lowering blood pressure, helping with heart palpitations. And Pushkar Mul, which is also called El Champagne, and it's used for respiratory congestion, but in this case, it's used to slow down the heart rate. It's basically a natural beta blocker, bringing down the heart rate. And then we use very cooling herbs, like this formula here, Pitta Balance, particularly if they're getting very hot. It's to reduce heat in the body. Here's all these cooling herbs, Kamaduda, Pravapishti, Mukti-pishti, Guduchi Sapa, licorice, if you're familiar with Indian foods. This is very cooling. So it depends on how hot the person is. And here's a very good formula. We have a few formulas that are based on some of these herbs. It's called Vitality Ghee, and it's basically ashwagandha and clarified butter or ghee. This is very good for the stressed out and dry person with hyperthyroid. And by being in ghee, this helps to slow down the digestion of the herbs. So it's very effective in this sense. And in fact, this person needs more dairy, more fat, more butter, and a person who's not having any fat or any butter, a low-fat diet, a very stimulating diet. This person's usually overworked, stressed, pushing themselves, and having coffee, skipping meals, and eating too light, and becoming underweight, or is overly concerned with weight gain, and their metabolism is getting too high. Their whole system becomes overly stimulated. Now, of course, you still should supplement, and digestion becomes too strong, too much. So the digestive system is destroying a lot of the nutrients, we could say, and then it's depleting the blood. It can become a type of depletion in the body where the hair's falling out, the fingernails are getting soft. There's a deplete, the weight's coming down. This is because even though they're eating so much, but their metabolism is destroying all of the nutrients before it gets to the body. So this person becomes thin, underweight, fatigued, and nutritionally deficient, and the thyroid gland then becomes deficient. It's not getting its iodine, so we have to supplement it with iodine, and often we have to supplement it with other type of superfoods and natural supplementation. This person tends to need extra supplementation as well. We give wheatgrass, spirulina, chlorella, alfalfa. We mix these up together and prepare them for the individual so they have like a supplement. Often these persons need a lot of vitamins and supplements, they feel, because they're depleted, and often they're taking too much B12. A lot of supplements use a lot of B12, and it's very stimulating. You have one formula, it's got 1,200% of your daily recommended of B12, and they're taking another B supplement, which has got 2,000% of your daily recommended allowance of B12, and you're combining these together, and this B12 is also stimulating you, increasing more energy. Chocolate, coffee, B12. There's always stimulants involved, I see, in most cases of hypothyroid, and nervousness, stress, overwork. So often we give out, you get a kind of fatigue where they're wired and anxious and restless in the morning, but then in the afternoon they crash. So we have a formula here. We call it Adrenal Formula, but we use it for hyperthyroid, and it's got the key herbs in it. Ashwagandha, number one. Vidarikan, which is like a potato. Bala, which means strengthening. So this is to strengthen the weak person. And then Brahmi, which is cooling. Tulsi, cinnamon, licorice, cumin, and ginger help you to digest it. So this is slowing the person down, non-stimulating energy, reducing anxiety. But we may have to, if they're getting a lot of heart palpitations, we may have to put in other formula as well, like Calm Heart. This is for the heart palpitations and poor circulation. There's Arjuna I mentioned earlier. Jatamatsi is a calming herb. Gotakola is for circulation. So this is, helping with circulation and also it's calming. Jatamatsi is particularly good at calming down the heart muscles. So that helps lower the blood pressure. And we may have the person drink all day, no more coffee, maybe relaxing tea. We have Western herbs that will help them, skullcap, catnip, motherwort, lavender, passion flower. These are helping to slow the metabolism down, slow the person down. And the life also has to slow down. Now, if there's, like I said, if there's a lot of heat in the person, then we'd give some cooling formulas as well. So in the case of Hashimoto's, it's a different cause, so the treatments are quite different. But so you're usually using a lot more cooling herbs. We use curcumin. It's anti-inflammatory. It's an extract of turmeric. The main herb used to manage the immune system, that's immune modulator plus bringing down the inflammation, is guduchi. Here it's called Amrit. Amrit is another name for it, but it's guduchi. And guduchi sattva is the extract of guduchi that's even more cooling. And we have this particular one we give them to. We'd give some of these herbs for all autoimmune conditions. So we would combine some of the herbs that we're talking about here to manage the immune system, particularly this one here. It's called Amlaki Rasyana. Rasyana means restorative. See, it says first indication is immune modulator, and also reduces burning and heat sensation in the body. And it's helping with all autoimmune conditions and hair loss. So this is really very, very effective. So we would be giving them that, plus these cooling herbs to get down the heat, these immune modulating herbs. And then if they were in the later stage and there was goiter and hypothyroid, then we would include some of the hypothyroid herbs. Or if you're in the early stage and there was a hyperthyroid, then we would combine some of those. So when you're dealing with Hashimoto's, the immune system attacking the thyroid gland, then you really have to deal with the person case by case, and depending on where they are in the stages of this condition. So and it's of the three, of course, the most tricky to resolve. And so we don't have a standard formula on the shelf for Hashimoto's. No, we just make it case by case. And even as the person progresses and inflammation comes down, the pain comes down, the other symptoms of the immune system attacking the tissue is reduced, and the person is recovering, we may be changing the herbs month to month to month to month. So the herbs that you start off with may be completely different than the herbs that you're doing at the end. And we still, of course, will address symptoms. Like other symptoms could be like, of course, hair loss, which is obviously very important to some people. It's not too important to me. I don't care. But, I know the ladies don't like to go bald. So they may want to include, a hair formula to help with hair falling out. And all of these herbs would be still supportive. I mean, you've got Brahmi, which is for the brain, Gotakola for circulation, Ashwagandha, which we know is good for both hypo and hyperthyroid, and Bringraj, which is great for the hair, but also very good for the liver. So there's a beauty of these herbs is that they don't have one job. They have an overall action. So even though you could be taking the person having a lot of hair falling out, then it's not only going to help with the hair falling out, but it's going to address some of these underlying causes of the overall condition. So a person's going to go out the door with 5 or 6, maybe 8 different products if you have Hashimoto's, because we're treating the immune system, we're treating the thyroid, and we're treating the symptoms. And the diet would be on individual basis for the individual. But mostly the Hashimoto's is and these autoimmune conditions are from Pitta Prakriti, where that's the person who has very strong digestion, Trikshna Agni, and has heat and burning and very good immunity their whole life. They never got sick or colds or flus, and they've been susceptible to muscle pain, inflammation. You see the early signs of inflammatory conditions in the body. Man could have prostate problems. Woman could have issues with excess bleeding and inflammation in the uterus. There could be other indications. So, sometimes these have to be treated as well, or at least at a second or third stage. So, it's not just like you would give these herbs for this type of condition, and the person would continue as they're progressing with taking the herbs. Their symptoms are reducing down, and so the herbs would be changing as you were going. And it can take minimum 90 days and up to 1 year of taking herbs. And most of these herbal formulas that I've shown you here, most people would be taking anywhere from minimum 3 or 4 jars up to 8 or 10 jars of some of these formulas. Like their main one, this thyroid formula, mostly used for hypothyroid, but we could use it in combination with other herbs for hyperthyroid. We just have to change the herbs. I've had people who took 15, 20 jars before they were completely off their medication, and their thyroid numbers were completely recovered. But most people, maybe 3, 4, or 5 months. It depends on the individual, how long you've had it and how long you've been on your existing medication. If you catch it in the early stage, you know, it could be a change of diet and 2-3 jars of these herbs, and you can get it back under control. Later stages, it could take over a year. So a lot of variation, very difficult to treat on your own. Hashimoto's and the other two, I think it's possible people could treat on their own, because diet and digestion are key factors. And if these are adjusted on your own, then you will see results in time. It could just take years. But with the herbs, you know, you're going to see much faster and quicker results. So I hope that helped give you at least some hope and understanding into the possibilities of treating these conditions, which, of course, you know, Ayurvedic doctors in India are treating for thousands of years. And this is where I gained my knowledge, is from Ayurvedic doctors in India who were successful with these conditions, and then and taught me many of these formulas that I mentioned here, like Kanchanar Gugulu, Chantaprabha. These would be traditional formulas, and any Ayurvedic doctor in India, or anybody with a, you know, substantial herbal clinic would give you the same herbs. There would be very little variation with hyperthyroid for sure, and also with but with Hashimoto's, you could see a big variation between one doctor and another doctor. But some of these are just standard formulas that have been used for thousands of years for this condition. So I hope that helped you. Feel free to contact me if you like more information. I'll always review your case. If you do have such a condition, I'd like to see the blood work, and I'll be happy to talk to you about your particular case before you schedule an appointment. And I think what's most important is that you realize there is hope, there is treatment. If you are a motivated and good patient, you can recover from these conditions, you know, if they're in the early stages and you're able to follow the diet and take your herbs on schedule. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.